would make a quick video talking a little bit about fading the lure in any behavior, but we talked about getting the dogs acclimated to the cape and different ways to do that. And so I thought about trying to fade the lure a little bit with Miss Marvel. So I have some kibble behind me, and you can tell. If you remember, and I dropped a kibble on the floor, can't have that. If you remember, we talked about luring, so you take some kibble, I tell her to get dressed, and she's like, I can't find it. Here it is. And then I lure her into her cape. So a couple things to think about when you're trying to fade a lure, and some things to remember when you're working on luring in general. You want to make sure that your verbal cue comes out before the lure. So the dog listens to your verbal cue first, and then the action is done. Because if I'm reaching for my treat and then giving the command, all that she's thinking about is food, 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 food. She's not listening to my verbal cue. So I want to make sure that I say, get dressed first, and then I help to lure her. So initially you might want to lure to begin with just to see if your dog will do it, but once you know your dog will go in there, then you want to make sure your verbal cue comes first. Okay, I'm going to move you over just a little bit, honey. All right, so before I reach for my treats, and I also have a struggle with this, so I'm telling you and I'm telling myself. So I'm going to hold my harness out here. Marvel, get dressed. Yes, good girl. And she actually did it all by herself then. And then I went ahead and reached for my kibble and give her some treats for that. Okay, so I really want her to hear the verbal cue and not look at my actions. And if you don't know already, dogs are very visual. So they're looking at our body motion. So when we start working on a sit or a down or heel, we really need to start fading our visual cues and start relying a little bit more on our commands. Now, if she hadn't gone into her cape and gotten dressed, then I could have gave the verbal cue and then lured her without a treat in my hand, as if I had a treat in my hand that way. And then once she got her head in, I could have reached for my treat and give her her marker cue. Gave her a marker cue first and then reached for the treat and grabbed a kibble for her. Miss Marvel. So again, I'm going to hold my harness out. Marvel, get dressed. And there, she's not doing it. So I don't want to be too quick to grab for my food. So I'm going to act as if I have a kibble in my hand. And I'm going to bait her with my fake kibble. Yes! I'm going to mark with my marker cue, and then I'm going to go ahead and reach for my treat and reward. Good girl. So I can do that same thing with any command. With sit, you know, when we teach our dog to sit, we take a kibble. Okay, take a kibble, we show them the treat, and we guide over top of their head. Yes! And we give them a treat. Second step, we need to start giving our verbal cue first and luring. So, okay. Marvel, sit, and then lure. I still have my treat in my hand. Yes, and reward. Good girl. Okay, so now I'm not going to have any treats in my hand. Okay, Marvel, good girl. Marvel, sit. Give my verbal cue first. Now if she had, oh, now she's going to lay down. So I'm going to act as if I have a treat in my hand. Yes, and then I'm going to get her back into a sit with my fake treat. And then I'm going to give my reward to get her back into position. Okay, so my goal should be hear the verbal cue, get the behavior, and they position themselves and I mark and reward. So your ultimate goal is to really fade that reward as much as you can. All right, one more time with the harness. Okay, Marvel. Okay, I'm going to get her moving. Hold my harness up, and she's wanting the sticker that I just pulled off of my pants. It's not for you. Marvel, get dressed. I'm going to give my verbal cue first. I'm going to hold my harness out. She's not listening. So then I'm going to show her my fake treat. Marvel, with my fake treat. Yes! And then I'm gonna give her her reward at that point. Good girl. Okay. So eventually I really wanna hear verbal cue first, try to get her in with a hand signal or position, and then mark and reward. Now eventually we wanna get that verbal cue, just verbal cue. So I'm rambling, but hopefully that helps you fade the lure, and the quicker you can fade the lure, the better. Even if you're giving your verbal cue, you get the behavior, and then you go ahead and reach for your cookie. So mechanics are super, super important at this point. So happy training, good luck, and keep showing us videos. Bye.